YouTube, my friends, it is nice to be back with you today with another Toku TV review. I just reviewed a bunch of Ultraman shows, so I wanted to get back into Kamen Rider, because I reviewed Kamen Rider Build and also the Kamen Rider Rogue side story from the Build Blu-rays. But now, I'm going to start off with one of the early Heisei shows, and it was a really popular one that helped Kamen Rider become what it is today. There's no denying that. Kamen Rider Agito. Yeah, it's the 11th Kamen Rider show, the second Heisei Kamen Rider show. It's got a movie and 2 specials, all of which I have seen. And it's cool, but to be honest, I think it's overrated. I really think it's overrated. I think Toei might have messed up a little bit on this one. Now, it's got some really slow pacing, and most of the early Heisei riders have really slow pacing, but on many of them, like Kuga and Ryuki and stuff, you don't care about the slow pacing because they're great shows. The stories are great, the characters are great, etc. And it's, I don't know. I don't think it's that good. Because it kind of feels like a sequel to Kuga, but that's not like confirmed in any way. It's like implied, but there are sources that contradict that. But I did some research for this video specifically, and it was explained on the Agito production website. It just wasn't translated to English until like 2013. And I'm going to read you that full thing. Yusuke Godai fought so hard to put smiles on everyone's faces that if another conflict were to break out afterwards, it would diminish the value of everything he fought for. You're free to enjoy Agito as a continuation of Kuga if you so wish, or imagine it takes place in a parallel world if you so choose. I appreciate this may sound like an ass pull. They actually say that. However, so I guess I would say that while Agito takes place 2 years after number 4 destroys the unidentified life forms, it is not a sequel to Kuga. So take the show with that in mind. So not a sequel to Kuga. Which I kind of like, actually. I kind of like that it's its own thing. It's just based heavily on Kuga because Kuga was very popular. And their similarities are referenced in Kamen Rider Decade where they share some characters. But we'll get to Kamen Rider Decade because that's like a whole thing in itself. But for the story, there's a guy named Shoichi Tsugami, and he's an amnesiac. Get used to amnesiac Kamen Riders. Remember when I reviewed Build, I was like, not our first amnesiac Kamen Rider. He doesn't know who he is, and he can transform into this being called Agito for like no reason, and fight these unknown monsters called unidentified life forms. And there's another Kamen Rider called Kamen Rider G3, and he's like a cop Kamen Rider in this armor, and he's pretty cool, you know. I'd really rather the show be entirely about him than Agito, because I didn't find the character of Agito himself that interesting at all. The side riders were really cool, and then Agito was kind of bland to me. But there's another side rider called Kamen Rider Gills, and he doesn't seem to always have a choice as to when he transforms. And his transformation is like painful, like he's in pain the whole time he's Kamen Rider Gills. And it's pretty weird. It's pretty crazy. But I like Gills in G3. So, anyways, there are all these mysteries in the show, right? Like the show is this one big mystery. But I feel like most of the mysteries don't pay off. What happened on the ship to make everybody that was on it turn into Agitos? Who the hell cares? You care until you get the answer, and then you're like, that's it? That was dumb. At least it was to me. People love Agito. And I get why people like it, but love it? Because, I mean, like, I didn't dislike the show. It just, I don't think it should have the love that it does. And it's fine if you enjoy it more than me. I'm glad you enjoy it more than me. Because we should all like everything we watch. We should think everything we watch is good. We should be entertained by shows, and that's a good thing. But Agito, dude, not a big fan. I don't think they ever explain where exactly Gills gets his powers, because his dad was on the cruise liner, but like not before he was born. How'd he get powers? Another Agito is kind of cool. I'll admit that. He's cool. I think he's back, or at least a version of him is back in Zio. I don't know. I've only watched like the first 4 episodes of Zio so far. I gotta catch up. The only mystery that I felt really, really paid off was the mystery of why his sister died. And this is going to be a I'm going to tell you exactly what happened. And it's going to be a very big spoiler. So if you want to watch this show and don't want it spoiled, this is where you need to stop watching. His sister was turning into an Agito. Turns out Agito is like a natural step of human evolution, and they're being pressed into this next state of evolution because of all these monsters running around. But lots of people are confused and don't understand what's happening to them. People around them are scared of them, and she did, in fact, run up to that roof to take her own life. What the cops said happened is what happened. She ran up there to kill herself. And her boyfriend, who you're meant to think was her murderer the entire show, tried to save her. He actually caught her hand as she was falling, and she begged him to let her die. She begged him to drop her as she was turning into an Agito, and he did it. He dropped her and let her fall to her death. And that blew my mind. I thought that was so cool. I thought that was the coolest part of the show. That was insane. The emotion I felt watching that reveal made me piss my pants. I fucking loved it. And then I remembered, this is a show for children. That happened in a children's show. What the hell? That's one of the darkest things I've ever seen. This is a show for children in the early 2000s. At least I think it was the early 2000s. Crap, when did this show come out? I have my notes right here. Yeah, 2001. That's exactly the year I thought this came out. So yeah, pretty crazy. There's this sidekick chick for the family that kind of takes him in while he's an amnesiac, and she kind of does things in her own, but it's not a big deal. Like she's not that interesting. I just feel like the characters that are supposed to be the most interesting aren't. But like G3, Gills are like really cool. But Agito's like kind of whatever to me. So, should you watch Kamen Rider Agito? Eventually. I don't recommend watching it if you haven't watched Kuga yet. Even though it takes place in a different timeline, still watch Kuga. Still watch Kuga for sure. Just so you can have kind of a frame of reference for what's going on in this show. Because there's some weird stuff in this show that doesn't really go explained, or at least isn't explained very well. So you really do need to watch Kuga. Then, I also feel like it's just not the best starter show in general. One, I feel like if you're going to use an early Heisei show as a starter, maybe show them Ryuki or Kabuto. Maybe those would be some of the ones you'd want to watch first. because they also have slower pacing, but they have really good characters and story, so you don't mind the slow pacing. But with this one, the pacing's like slow, but there's also mysteries, so it takes forever to get to each mystery, and then they don't really have a good payoff. I just think Agito's overrated. I just think it's overrated. I don't dislike it. It's just not my favorite. It's not one I ever need to rewatch. So that's it. Thank you all very much for your support. Please remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. Check out all the cool links in the description below, including the links that will support our own tokusatsu show called Toku King. Yes, it has a lot of Kamen Rider influence in it, so if you love Kamen Rider, Power Rangers, Godzilla, Ultraman, or anything like that, you'll definitely want to support our show Toku King on Indiegogo or Patreon. We have lots of rewards for anyone that donates, and I hope you will all enjoy that as it comes out. That's it. Thank you all once again, and I'll see you all later.